when we talked about this, your podcast is called It's All Your Fault. So if you guys like Megan's stuff, and at the end, Megan, and also in the show notes, we're going to do how to reach out to you, how to connect with you, and how to listen to get more of your brilliance. So, uh, and I think that's the perfect one, because if you find someone where the blame is always elsewhere, it's never here, there's nothing for them to learn, it's always someone else's fault, instantly, at least for me, I'm like, oh,
Ding, ding, ding.
I see. I see what I'm dealing with. Okay. And for me, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible because once they're there, and this is so prejudicial by me, I'm just like, once they're there, I'm like, okay, I now have to put on surgical gloves and I have to wall myself off emotionally. I have to protect everybody from you, because if it's all your fault, you're never willing to learn anything. It's the hallmark of arrogance as a human being. If your fault, if it's everybody else's fault and you're never responsible for anything, you can learn nothing.
Right.
You have frozen your development at whatever age you learn to make that work, right? Assuming there's stages of development, but stages of learning.
Mm-hmm.
So good work. Really great. So
Well, it's their automatic first thought, and you're just not going to train them out of that. We're going to talk about other things you can do, setting
oh,
limits and things, but it's just so common for them. As soon as things don't go their way, it's that automatic first thought is to blame. I didn't, and it just doesn't feel inside of them that they did anything to cause the way now that they're feeling, which is some internal distress, some upset, some anxiety. The heart may be right, and so I didn't do anything to create that, so it must be you.
yeah.
They just can't take responsibility.
It's blamed wrapped in self-righteousness, which is even more inflamed because you're making me mad. It's your
Yes.
fault that you're making me mad. It's your fault that I'm getting this mad.
Yeah.
It's your fault. And it sounds
Yep.
like my mom. It's
Oh,
your fault that you're making me mad. Well, what? How did this happen? Okay,
you're
reform.
spot on, Steve. That's exactly it. It's so illogical to
Yeah.
everyone else. And so when you start to think to yourself, wow, this person's really crazy making. Is it me? What did I do? That if you have those thoughts, you better step back and listen and watch and observe for those four things: unmanaged emotions, extreme behaviors, all or nothing thinking, and blame. And then
Okay,
you
let's do
go,
that again
okay, it's
slow.
not me.
Let's let's
Okay.
let's do that nice and slow again. So the four elements, as we summarize this and we switch a little bit on the topic, the four elements, do it one more time, nice and slow. Element
All
number
right.
one,
Unmanaged emotions,
unmanaged emotions. So number two,
extreme behaviors.
extreme behaviors. And extreme behaviors can show up in other ways other than yelling. Because
Correct.
I think a lot of people just think of extreme behaviors as yellers, but there's a lot of other behaviors that can come out of this, right? Number
Yep.
three,
All or nothing thinking,
all or nothing thinking. You're my way or the highway. Okay, great. And number four, my favorite is
blame. And one little thing that goes with that is that they focus on a target of blame. And so today it may be you, and they really are relentless going after you, but it may be also someone else in the office, or it may be a client, or someone else in their life. It can really shift, and be everywhere at the same time. But they focus on a target of blame. They're preoccupied with it.
oh yeah. So we've got stress, whether you're not sleeping at night because of a high conflict person, you're trying to figure out how to handle an email, a conversation, um, uh, glib remark, and you're trying to, and like you said earlier, if I'm a managing attorney or owner of a firm, I'm only getting to see a fraction of this. Everyone else is paying a greater price. And it may be driving off my most talented people. My most talented people might be going, so and so is a whatever.
That word.
And whatever. And I don't want to work here anymore because the amount of money that I'm making is not worth the stress and the aggravation that so and so causes. I understand they're a big shot. I understand whatever in this firm, but yeah, it's not for me. And then they don't want to, and they don't want to say I'm quitting because of that person. They just leave. And yeah, it's terrible. What a price to pay for keeping a high conflict individual in your firm is to actually lose talented people because they realize this person's not going to change, the firm's not going to change, therefore I have to change. And the only way I can change is to pull the ripcord and jump and yell Geronimo and land somewhere else because I cannot, for my own well-being, stay here any period of time.
Right. And something I would add to that list too is that, they may think, someone in the firm may think, well, the partners are never going to do anything about this.
Yep.
Management's not going to do anything about it. They don't listen. HR doesn't listen. No one gets it because this person is, brings in a lot of money or is a hotshot in the courtroom or can really work well in this one area. But if it's someone that's really that extreme and you can't get people on board in the office to, get skilled up and manage this person and have some success, I just see it as a, kind of the law of diminishing returns. Like, how long are you going to keep this up? This isn't sustainable. You need to, change course here and kind of root that out.
Most of the time, someone's wrestling with a problem or opportunity, and the opportunity and the problem look like the same thing, depending on how you twist it and want to look at it. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, they may not see the problem as being the problem. They may see you as being the problem. They may not see the problem as the problem. And I always have to wrestle with my wife, and I always have to remind her, and she reminds me, you're not the problem. I'm not the problem. It's you and I against the problem.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And
we're a problem. We're a team against the problem.
Yeah. And so we can't make it about you and I. We have to get focused on what the problem is. Most of the time it's our kids or other people, but that's a whole other conversation. But, it's like you say, okay, what is actually the problem? And sometimes for me is getting clarity, because whenever I'm working with somebody or coaching with somebody, they think they know the problem. And I have to take some time to work through, is that problem actually the problem? And based on my personality, I may be a fire-ready aim person. And so I don't take any time to take a step back and maybe analyze, study, work on it. And so I have people around me that are brilliant at things. I'm not a people person. My business partner, Mark, is off the hook brilliant with people. He manages high conflict. Not of all the people I know, he probably manages high conflict situations the best. That doesn't mean he's perfect, but a lot of people I've seen him manage high conflict. Like if he works with a law firm or works even with us or works with me or my partners or somebody else, he manages conflict most of the time as the best I've ever seen. He's just really, really intentional about it. He studied it. He's thought about it, but he's very, very good at it. So it's a skill. And that's the big takeaway for me out of this. So I don't want to keep you here all day, but I just want to thank you. Is there anything else that you want to pass on to help people? The ear statement's fantastic. What else? Anything else that you want to pass on to say, hey, here's a quick tip from Megan?
You bet. And I should say, Bill Eddy, my co-founder and business partner, created all these, the ear, biff, and I've just gotten clever with them. So I don't want to take credit for something I didn't do. But so the other one is how to respond in writing, which is really huge. And we use something we call...
Oh my God, this is a great one. Go ahead, please. This is a great one.
So we have to use what we call BIF, another acronym. And the reason we use acronyms, by the way, is because your brain's under stress in those moments and it's hard to remember what to do.
Yeah.
And like with that story I shared, in that moment, I was like, oh, ear statement, ear, okay. And I gave her one. With BIF, it's brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And there's tons of information on our website. And
well, give your website real quick. Give everybody your website.
highconflictinstitute.com.
Well, that's pretty easy to figure
yep.
out. Highconflictinstitute.com.